Hello everybody, my name is John, you're watching Auto Anorak, and today we're covering one of the most famous channels on automotive YouTube. Of course it is Daily Driven Exotics. We're going to be covering their entire garage. Let's get into it. The first car that we ever got to see in the Daily Driven Exotics fleet was Damon's E-Gear Lamborghini Guyardo. This was a first-gen Guyardo. It obviously had the LP 560 front bumper on it, new exhaust system, might have even been rear-wheel drive. I believe that this car was a little bit of a money pit for him. He said that the E-Gear transmission had a lot of flaws, and of course this was a very uncertain time in DDE's history. This car was made famous by the Lamborghini WRC series, which was essentially the very first web series done by DDE, which Damon said was inspired by Gymkhana. This was actually the first video that I myself watched from Daily Driven Exotics, and yeah, it definitely got me hooked. The next car to join the fleet was Damon's heavily modified Ferrari 458 Italia. With 562 brake horsepower and a dual clutch system that actually worked, the 458 was a much better tool for the job of tire slaying. The car got some very nice upgrades from Novitec. It was lowered, it was on wheels, it had a front splitter and of course a rear spoiler. But things really changed up whenever the car got that iconic Liberty Walk kit. The upgrades that were done to this car were not to be laughed at all. Adding to the Liberty Walk kit, this car had official Ferrari mirrors, official Ferrari GT3 rear wing, and of course a GT3 seat. Then it got just about the craziest rap that the internet had ever seen, a simply ridiculous IPE exhaust system. Then he took it on Gold Rush, slayed some tires, and proceeded to crash his 458, which he launched his channel off of. It doesn't stop there though. The car did get rebuilt and he even drove it during its rebuilding process. The next car we got to see was Dave's E46. A lot of you probably don't remember this, and to be honest, I can see why. It was an auto. It had lots of fake M badges, and needless to say, we're all disappointed, Dave.
Oh! Dude! Woo!
Then of course there was the other Ferrari. This I believe was owned by Damon and his business partner. A really cool car that eventually got wrapped a similar colour to the Huracan that he bought later. This was the lightweight, hardcore track version of the F430, and I think you'll agree that 4.3 litre V8 sounds quite awesome. Then there's the Cayenne that's owned by Damon's wife. It's a Cayenne Turbo. He did donuts in it once, but not much more to note other than that. But now we get to the most famous car of them all, Tire Slayer 2.0. This is the replacement for his Ferrari 458 Liberty Walk, a Lamborghini Huracan Lp 580-2. That means this was the rear-wheel drive variant of the Huracan. The car was quickly tuned to about 630 horsepower, which was quite easy since it's the Huracan motor out of the 610. And then the car got that complete Vorsteiner Novara body kit. Definitely one of the most beautiful body kits on any car in recent years. Additionally, when he got that body kit, he also wrapped the car in that same wrap I was talking about with the Scuderia earlier, and the wrap consisted of various different racetracks across the world. The sounds you just heard are thanks to the VF Engineering supercharger that brought the Huracan to over 800 brake horsepower. The car also had a roof box, but
Whoa, 175 did the trick.
Following a year or so of abuse, the car needed a new refresh. It got canards, it got Brixton forged racing wheels, a brand new wrap, and of course that gigantic rear wing. And the wing was mainly just a solution for all the space that was left after he ripped off the rear bumper. Next for me was the most iconic look of the Tire Slayer. It had those skull racing wheels in orange to match that crazy wrap that was inspired by the Lamborghini SVJ test car. The car was also on air, but there were no additional performance mods. Those came later. In its final iteration, it got a Lark livery and a Sheepy Race twin turbo kit. We're talking 1,000 horsepower with no traction control. The famous tire slayer has since been unwrapped. After purchasing the Huracan, he also got his wife a Range Rover Sport. It got new wheels, it looked pretty good, but who cares? What we really care about is that he bought his friend Dave an R8. Not only was this a cool car, but it was a symbol that David was becoming a more serious member of the channel, and it also meant that Dave could drive a car with a proper gearbox for once. With 420 brake horsepower and a 4.2 litre V8, its stats aren't quite as incredible as a lot of the other cars that you'll see on this list. However, it was a start of something quite amazing for Dave.
Alright, let's go.
And by amazing, I of course mean that Dave got his car turned into a Hello Kitty mobile by Alex Choi, and it gained one of the most aggressive body kits I think I've seen on any car. It had the gigantic chassis mounted wing, it had the side skirts, it had the rear splitter, the front splitter. Coupled with the neon green highlights, it wasn't exactly a car to be low key in. Next is my favourite car that they've ever had on the channel. A Murcielago LP640 is a beast in its own right, or more so a bat, since that's what Murcielago means. Anyway, when you add a manual transmission into the mix and a crazy body kit, things get turned up to 11 pretty quickly. I was never a huge fan of the blue wrap, it covered the carbon fibre and I just didn't like that. But when a car's being driven like this, how can you complain? After that, the car got a certain iconic racing livery from a certain company, and additionally this car also got some Brixton forged racing wheels. However, this car has just been in the shop getting its V12 fixed up because it had some issues, engine out, the usual sort of Murcielago stuff. Next was Dave's beautiful 500 brake horsepower manual first gen Guyardo, which was crashed. So yeah, that's about it. It ended pretty quickly. And then following the purchase of the Murcielago and the Guyardo, DDE went on a bit of a spending spree and got this H1 Hummer. It's very slow, it's got the worst drag coefficient of any car in recent years, but it doesn't matter. It can be dropped from a helicopter, it can be dropped from a plane, and it can be used for shenanigans on automotive YouTube. And they enjoyed that Hummer so much that they went and bought another Hummer H1 Alpha. This one I believe was actually owned by one of the bosses of August Motor Cars out in Canada, and they've kept this car in Canada. We haven't really seen much of it. But what we do know is it's got a huge exoskeleton, it's got the Duramax motor, and it can lift an Alex Choi. After that, as a thank you for all of his hard work, they got their editor, a Porsche Macan, to I believe replace his old Honda that had kind of deteriorated. It was a lovely gesture and quite an emotional video, but it's Porsche Macan, so who cares. Continuing the escapade of buying various exotic cars, Damon went out and bought a car that he'd always wanted, a cheap S55 AMG. These cars aren't to be overlooked. Even though they're pretty cheap, they have 5.5 litre supercharged V8s producing around about 500 brake horsepower, and they're still luxurious to this day, definitely a good buy. However, maintenance isn't the best on these. But in spite of the impending doom of maintenance fees, he went and sent it anyway. The car was then sent some more, and then some more. Things really kind of got out of hand.
Hell yeah.
It was straight piped. And they also may have turned it into the only S55 AMG convertible in the world in a matter of minutes. I also forgot to mention just how angry this car sounded, potentially after the mods that had been done to it. Following the, well, we'll call it the interesting time he had with his last Guyardo, Dave got the Guyardo to end all Guyardos. Around about the time of Lamborghini's 50th anniversary in 2013, they decided to kill off the Guyardo, but before that they made the Squadra Corsa, a 1 of 50, 570 horsepower lightweight version of the Guyardo. These were only sold in yellow in North America, that's how rare they are. As a self-proclaimed Lamborghini obsessive, you can imagine how upset I was by their wrap in this car. Probably my least favourite wrap that they've ever done. I know Damon probably liked it, to each their own. You can do what you want, it's your own car, but wasn't a fan. Although it did get a VF supercharger which dipped the car into the 700 horsepower territory. Next was their Rocket Bunny 2020 Supra that was running on Brixton forged racing wheels in white. I suppose in tribute to the Stradman, this was probably the most hated car in recent years on the channel since it wasn't a supercar, and people kind of thought it was a bit of a sellout thing to do by jumping on the super craze. To each their own, it was okay. I never really liked the green though.
Oh, don't watch the mirror! Watch the mirror! Watch the mirror! Watch the mirror!
Dave's next supercar was a 616 horsepower Mclaren 12C. Yes, 12C, because they took away MP4. They said it took too long. Anyway, we were all expecting a McLaren on the channel at some point, since, as Doug Demir said, it's kind of the YouTuber thing to do. But I must say, it's kind of a brave move for DDE, considering what they tend to do with cars and McLaren's consistency in being known as the unreliable supercar manufacturer. Moving on though, the car doesn't seem to have had any issues, and its exhaust from Gintani sounds, yeah, pretty crazy. The car was in this beautiful baby blue wrap for a little bit, and then it changed to this sort of dark military grey and gained a 600 LT-esque exhaust system. On second thought, I think the 12C is just sort of loud, not very good sounding. Unlike this is one of the best sounding Italian V12s in the world, from the Ferrari F430, 730 brake horsepower, 6.3 litre V12. The F12 is set to be DDE's craziest build yet, with a full twin turbo kit and a crazy wide body kit done by a guy called SP Design. I think he did the renders. I would definitely check him out on Instagram. But for now, this car's been lowered, straight piped, and on brand new wheels. It looks mean. After buying their first V12 Ferrari, they had definitely caught the bug and pretty much instantly bought an FF. However, the great thing about this car is its unique purpose as a potential camera vehicle. Yes, the world's only V12 660 horsepower four-wheel drive camera car. It was originally owned 50-50 by Dave and Damon. I think Dave actually exited out of it, and after that it got a wrap in this sort of dark camo. It's actually really nice, pretty reflective. I do love this wrap. And of course it's got those yellow front lights, sort of inspired by French racing. They seem to really like putting yellow lights in the cars. Bit of a signature DDE touch right there.
Listen to this thing. Alright Mark, how long is it going to take to put the valves in?
As soon as Dave and Damon realised that they'd be spending more time in Canada, they pretty instantaneously bought brand new daily drivers G63s. These were equipped with the 5.5 litre biturbos, not to be confused with the G65s that had biturbo V12. The G63s were always a bit of a better choice because the V12s were a bit too boaty. They actually added insane exhausts to these. Yeah, let's hear them. Dave went a step further and added some Vossen wheels to his silver one. I think they look actually pretty nice, and he even went off-roading, which is pretty ballsy for most G63 owners.
How low can you go?
The next one was a pretty cool idea. I think we've all dreamed about opening some random barn door in the middle of nowhere and finding a supercar, and that's what DDE brought us, a Ferrari F430 that Dave ended up buying for one of his friends that he got a loan for $5,000 for a couple of years ago. A pretty cool gesture to his friend, who I'm sure had no regrets about loaning him the money all those years ago. This car was put on new wheels, new suspension, and of course got an FI exhaust. And the next car they got, unbelievably, was a Laferrari. Yes, a £4 million Laferrari, although, at least in Damon's eyes, what they actually got was the La Corvette. A budget Laferrari. You'll notice many similarities. They're both red, they both have black roofs, they're both mid-engined. They're both red. Yeah, okay, there's not entirely that much in common, but I suppose it was a cool tie-in. The car has since been equipped with a brand new $10,000 titanium exhaust system, which sounds amazing. And in the future, who knows, this car might even get a twin-turbo conversion. Nevertheless, at the moment, it's being an amazing addition to the fleet. Very cool seeing this brand new C8 Corvette on the channel. No doubt we should be seeing a lot more of it. And now it's time for a little bit of a confession. Since making this video, they bought two new cars. The Lamborghini Huracan Lp 610-4, which they're going to make into a drag car, and also Damon bought his wife a G63. Currently, you're seeing footage of an F10 BMW 5 Series, which is one of the cars that Dave, I believe, has or had, but all of my footage got corrupted, so I'm not actually able to produce anything else. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know what you'd like in the future. I'm looking to do Savage Garage next, so that should be pretty exciting. Thank you so much everybody for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.